Well, it's time for Weekend Wellbeing on the Weekend Wind Down Show. I'm Nathan Thomas, and I'm glad to welcome our special guest, Karen Ferguson from the Maven Club, to bring us a just a mental well-being focal point for today. Hello, Karen. Good to see you again.
Hi Nathan, great to see you.
Awesome. Good to have you with us for Weekend Wellbeing. How have you been doing this week?
I'm doing okay. Just adapting back to this sort of autumnal time, but looking at the beauty that is in this season. Trying not to think too badly on the coldness and like see the good parts. That's what we should do. Focus on the positives, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you there. I mean, it's definitely been getting colder and colder, and it is hard because I would much prefer summer. And
Mhm.
but as you say, it is only right that we enjoy the good parts of it. And what I love about this time of year, although it's cooler, there's a certain freshness and cleanliness to the air, isn't there? It's sort of it
Yeah, yeah.
feels clean in the air. I don't know.
Yeah, and actually, I am really grateful that we get to live in a place where there are seasons, that it's really beautiful, isn't it, to see the different seasons. But we've talked about it before. I think deep down, I just prefer it to be the summer and feel warm. But I'm embracing this season. It's a beautiful time for colours and seeing God's beauty, isn't it? So that's what
Definitely.
I'm.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in fairness, though, like you say, seasons. I mean, we wouldn't appreciate summer so much if it weren't for winter. So
True. That is so true.
yeah. Awesome. Well, it's good to see you again, and interested to see what you have for us in terms of our mental well-being focal point for today.
Yeah, it's interesting actually because today I wanted to think about something called a different chair. And actually, even us just chatting then about the change of seasons, it's quite interesting because it's all about perspective, isn't it? It's about how you see things. And so, this theme of a different chair really is about encouraging us in how we look at things, what our perspective is. And I don't know about you, but I am fascinated by people watching. I'm often at an airport. I do a fair bit of flying. It's not usually that glamorous, but I do a fair bit of flying. And one of the things I enjoy about that is the opportunity to people watch, and especially to people watch in places where people are perhaps a little bit out of their normal comfort zone. It's just really fascinating to see all that does go on. Um, and recently I was out for dinner with my husband. We just went to a pizza restaurant. And when we decided where to sit, I was sat looking towards the kitchen and the staff, and he was looking towards, I guess, all the customers and the activity happening outside. And it was really fascinating that our perspective on what we were seeing was really different. So we were in the same place, but what we were looking at was very, very different just by the activity that we both had our eyes, fixed on. Don't worry, we did talk to each other as well, but it's really fascinating, kind of looking at the activity that was happening amongst the staff team and the kitchen and the service counter, and the activity that was happening with people coming out for all sorts of different reasons to enjoy a pizza at this restaurant. Um, and in the same way, I was reminded recently of a time where so we have this lounge area. We call it a snug because it's just a small little sitting room, really. We've got a sofa, and then we've got one of those Poang chairs that come from, that big blue building that we probably can't mention because there's lots of places that provide furniture in the UK. But I would normally just sit on the sofa. And fairly recently, I just decided to sit down on this Poang chair. And I think I was just having a coffee or something like that. But my view from there was entirely different to what I'm used to sitting in there. So quite often I'll sit in there just for a little bit of time out. Sometimes it might be because I'm just having some time with God, want to pray maybe. Other times it's literally just getting away for a break from the screen and having a drink or that type of thing. But to sit in this other chair, I got a completely different vista of what I could see. And it was just really fascinating how that impacted me and what my thoughts then went to. And I think sometimes the way that our brains are wired and the pathways of particularly negative thinking is that we can find ourselves in a similar position, in a similar place, maybe with similar smells and other stimulants around. And it will remind us of those negative experiences, those negative pathways. And sometimes we kind of just need to shift where we are and what we're looking at to help us perhaps cut off some of the ties to those negative thoughts and get a clean perspective, a different perspective, a fresh perspective, hopefully a more positive perspective. And I was chatting with a friend recently. We were just talking about her daughter and some hard times that she's been through, and how she always sits in the same place in their living room. But actually, whilst there is some comfort in that, and there is a sense of being safe, there is also this negative association with some of those really hard times she's been through. That's been the place that she's sat when she's been experiencing those things. And I just sort of said, well, why don't you just suggest she sits in a different seat and sees what does that feel like? Will there be a chance for a different perspective, or not that sense of going back into a place where sadness was, but actually perhaps going into a different seat and seeing things in a different way, and perhaps just again cutting off some of those ties to that negative association. So it's a different type of theme, but I was just thinking, how about this weekend we become a little bit more intentional in our thoughts around where do we sit and what's our outlook from there. If it's something that is doing us good, then stay with that, keep that pattern. But maybe if there's some negative associations, or there's some times where you've really struggled, or you're really finding it challenging to see beyond a set of circumstances, maybe just attempt the simple act of sitting in a different seat and seeing if that helps to sever some of those ties in your thinking, but also to bring a brand new, fresh perspective. And now, depending on where you live, what your circumstances are, that might be easy or it might be difficult. I know some people get very territorial about their seats, don't they? So it might not be easy to have a change of seat, but it might be that as simple as perhaps wandering outside and going and sitting on a seat somewhere else and just having some calm, quiet time. But what might it look like for you to have a different chair experience and to perhaps open up to just seeing things in a different light with a different perspective? Is that something that could help you this weekend?
That's really interesting, actually. Interesting you should say that about having different perspective when you sit in a different seat, because in my family, when it comes to the car, me and my two brothers, we pretty much always sit in the same seats. We kind of have designated seats. It's not necessarily something that we worked out, and I have changed a few times over the years, but generally speaking, we always sit in the same seats, and we have a good routine. And it's funny, occasionally when I have to sit in a different seat, I don't know, say we've got a couple of seats down to carry some furniture or whatever, and I sit in a different seat. And it's funny how it can be quite disorienting at times. Like I can reach for the seatbelt and it's on the wrong side, for example. But it can also be quite refreshing to get a different perspective when you're looking at the car. And all of a sudden you're watching the road and it's very different. And it makes it like a whole different car journey. So,
Yeah.
I get what you mean by the different perspective, and actually sitting in a different chair is a really beneficial thing for us.
Yeah, and for some people it might not do anything, but it's one of those things it's worth a try. Sometimes if we literally just change our position, could it change other things as well for us in our thinking?
Very true. And it is good to have a bit of a shake up in our thinking now and then, because we can get pretty set in our ways as people. I like to learn a certain way. I like to sit here. I like to do that. But actually breaking free from that, we can actually sometimes we realize actually there's a better way of doing something I've never realized because I was just always done it this way.
Mhm. Yeah, it's good to try, isn't it?
Very good.
Nothing
Very good.
else by trying.
Yeah, very true. Well, thank you so much, Karen. I think that's something really good we can all easily do. We can just find some area of our lives where can we instigate some sort of change of perspective? Could we find a different place to? It could be a literal change of scenery, or it could just be I don't know, trying something different for a change. So yeah, that's a really good thing. We can all do that, and it's really easy and really simple to do, isn't it?
It is indeed. So it'd be great to hear if anyone finds that a different chair worked for them, or it helped to just perhaps break something that had been troubling them. Yeah, we always love to hear the feedback if things have worked, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. Let us know, how have you changed your perspective, and how has it affected the way you're living your life? That'd be really good to hear. So yeah, do get in touch. Thank you so much, Karen. Been good to hear from you again. Have yourself a great
Yeah.
weekend. Look forward to speaking again soon.
See you soon. Thanks, Nathan.
Did you know that at Pure 24/7 Radio we also offer advertising? Advertising really does work. Let's face it, you're listening to this. Want to know more? Well, just go to pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org/advertising, and you can get everything you want and more there.